Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Attendance at several schools impacted in recent weeks due to increase in number of students having respiratory illnesses. Attendance at several schools across the island has been impacted in recent weeks due to an increase in the number of students falling ill with respiratory and other related conditions. The Health and Wellness Minister recently warned of increasing pressure on the nation's hospitals due to a large number of children being admitted for respiratory illnesses. In an effort to address the issue, the ministry has extended the operating hours at some health facilities and forged an agreement with the University Hospital of the West Indies to treat children 12 years and younger without cost. While not all children impacted have been hospitalized, reporters understand that several school children have been staying away from classes due to respiratory illnesses. Principal of Charlton Infant School, Karen Johnson-Clark, told reporters that 30 of her 105 students have missed classes this week. She said at least one of them was hospitalized. Mrs. Johnson-Clark noted that the school has been taking extra precautions to keep students safe.
At present, I could say I have about 30 children that are out, and that would have been from last week coming on to this week. So most of those students are either coughing or they're having the cold. So what happened is that the parents would not send them out because it is something that is contagious. And also, what I do encourage the student to do is to ensure that they wear their mask, and that would prevent both themselves and other students from getting this cold. We ensure that we sanitize the place each evening so that whatever germs or virus is going around, we keep the place clean to eliminate the contamination of other students.
Several schools have been battling respiratory illnesses. At least one institution had students missing classes due to suspected cases of gastroenteritis. Acting principal at Constitution Hill Primary and Infant School, Carlene Burton, said at least 15 students have recently fallen ill. She said 3 students were hospitalized and treated for dehydration and other complications. The Ministry of Health and Wellness has reported an increase in gastroenteritis this year compared to the corresponding period last year, with an average of 107 cases for children 5 years and younger recorded each week.
So in my school, the challenge is not respiratory illnesses. You'll have 1 or 2 asthma attacks, but the main problem is vomiting and diarrhea, and several students have been out per week. Some classes have lost at least 4 or 5 students in a one session or one day. Others, so over the period from October 24th to now, some classes, the attendance has dropped greatly, and so that affects teaching and learning because we're going to have to repeat those subjects.
Portland laborer accused of rape freed. A Portland laborer who was accused of raping an 11-year-old girl 2 years ago was freed on Monday. 29-year-old Kenrick Rogers was found not guilty by a 7-member jury at the end of his trial in Portland Circuit Court. Rogers was arrested and charged with the sex offense in October 2020. During the trial, Rogers gave an unsworn statement from the prisoner's dock, denying raping the young girl and presented an alibi. He insisted that he did not visit the girl's home on the day of the incident. Rogers further told the court that someone saw another man, who he identified as Kobe, going to the girl's yard after the same time that she alleged that he raped her. The Portland resident was accused of raping the student at her home on October 1, 2020. The complainant reported that Rogers held her down and sexually assaulted her after she let him inside her home to use the bathroom. A day after the alleged incident, Rogers went to Bull Bay Police Station to ask if he was wanted and left his contact number. The police later contacted him and told him to visit the station. He complied. He was later arrested and charged. According to Rogers, the accusation was maliciously concocted. He said that the day before the alleged incident, he and the girl's mother had a big quarrel over partner money owed to him. Attorneys at law John Jacobs and Courtney Rowe represented Rogers. Convicted murderer who beheaded victim, one sentence shortened. A St. Ann laborer who beheaded a man and set fire to his body after allegedly accusing him of passing on HIV/AIDS infection, yesterday attempted to convince the Court of Appeal to shorten the 20-year period he must serve as part of his life sentence before parole. The 29-year-old murder victim, Neville Lewis, who had also inflicted multiple stab and chop wounds to the now-deceased Bernie Thomas, has reportedly enlisted the help of Thomas' lover, Howard Ricketts, in the gruesome 2012 killing. Lewis pleaded guilty to the murder in May 2014 in the St. Anne's Bay Circuit Court and was sentenced the following months of life imprisonment, with a stipulation that he served 20 years before becoming eligible for parole. The killer subsequently took issue with the sentence and filed an appeal. The lone grounds on which the challenge was initiated is that the trial judge erred in failing to adequately demonstrate how he arrived at the sentence and whether he applied the relevant principle in sentencing the appellant. Attorney at law Kemar McIran will be arguing on the appellant's behalf in the hearing, which started yesterday in the Court of Appeal. The early morning murder took place at Lewis' home in Brownstown, St. Anne on March 25. On the day of the incident, Lewis and Thomas were at home when they had an argument around 4 a.m. after Lewis reportedly accused Thomas of giving him the disease. During the quarrel, Lewis retrieved a machete from under the bed and used it to chop Thomas several times. The attack moved from bedroom to the living room, where Thomas was chopped on the neck, resulted in him falling to the ground. Lewis, with the help of Ricketts, a security guard, dragged the injured man back into the bedroom and put him on the bed. They both chopped and stabbed him several times. Lewis then decapitated Thomas and placed the head in a rice bag before setting the bed on fire with the body. The police were summoned and Thomas' headless body was found on a mattress after the blaze was extinguished. The dead man's decomposed head was found 4 days later near a manhole in Orange Hill District, Brownstown, after a witness detected a stench and went to investigate. Both men were arrested and charged. Lewis, in a caution statement to the police, told the police that he killed Thomas after he asked him to perform oral sex. Meanwhile, Ricketts, who pleaded not guilty to the murder, was found guilty in November 2016 and was similarly sentenced to life imprisonment 2017. Ricketts, in his unsworn statement, testified that he witnessed Lewis trapping Thomas following an argument and that Lewis ordered him to take part in the act. He admitted that he assisted Lewis to pull Thomas to the bedroom, where he then inflicted stab wounds to the chest and intestine area with a machete. "Officer, the boy never caused this for me. Me and him say me fi help him, and look what happened," Ricketts had reportedly told the police. Finance Minister assures that government will look deeper into the issue of salaries and benefits for independent contract workers. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark has sought to assure that the government will look deeper into the issue of salaries and benefits for independent contract workers as a whole, not just security guards. However, this in-depth examination will take place after the government concludes the reconstructing of the public sector. The matter was raised on November 8 by opposition spokesperson on Labour, Dr. Angela Brownberg, who cited the recent court ruling that security guards are employees. Dr. Brownberg noted that the government employs about 60% of private security guard service and also employs services from other contract workers who would fall under a situation similar to the guards. She wanted to know if the government has made an allocation for the expected increase in cost to hire guards. She was reacting to Dr. Clark's presentation to the lower house as he sought to have the supplementary estimates with an increase of $60 billion to the budget referred to the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee. Dr. Clark said the government must be very strategic in how it approached this problem.
The problem now is at such a level that we need to approach it with a level of alacrity, but also be mindful and be very strategic about how we do it so that we can do it properly. I've given my commitment that once we're finished with the review, this is a matter that we will look into with our partners in the union, can't do it alone, with addressing in the best possible way. If it were just limited to 100 employees here, it would be easy. But we're talking about potentially tens of thousands of persons. So it requires a dedicated response. Just like how we dive deep into this compensation restructuring and took consultants, we're going to do the same thing with this. We're going to look into the problem in depth and we're going to come up and propose solutions. But I need to get this phase over first. We've made significant progress and I'm quite hopeful that before long we'll be able to be processing the payments that will be due from April 1st. It is absolutely imperative that we conclude in sufficient time that the payments that are due for 2022 are made in the fiscal year 2022-23. The government has been very accommodative in terms of the timeline, but there is a natural limit. We're making these changes effective April 1st, 2022. By the end of this month, 8 months of 2022 would have gone. By January, 10 months would have gone. And 10 months of what we proverbially call back pay is a large amount that is being budgeted for in this fiscal year. And if it is not paid in this fiscal year, the space to accommodate it in the next fiscal year does not exist. So it is very important that everyone is aware we need to conclude in sufficient time that we can pay it this year. You know, the expenditure for the back pay is tens and tens of billions of dollars.
Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the